Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. So, let's start our summer discourse today. Let's observe something quickly today. Let us ask a question. A question that may seem unusual. What can thought actually touch the world? When you think about a tree, has the thought touch the tree? Or is there any physical thing appearing in the thought in the mind? When you think about another person, as the thought touch that person, it can physically present person in the mind, in the thought. Is there a physical touch between this thought and this person? When you think about yesterday, as the thought touched yesterday, did it go to yesterday itself? Did we travel yesterday itself? Or has it only touched the thought? A direct recognition that have appeared within the mind. We usually believe that connect, thoughts connect us directly to reality. It feels like thoughts are the reality itself, but perhaps thought never reaches reality. It is only gets a representation and interpretation, like looking into a mirror. There is a reflection. The reflection resembles your face, but the reflection has never touched your face. Can you see the thought is just like this? But the subject is completely association with conditions. We believe it exists out there. It is the middle of our mind. There's no object out there. It mirrors our mind outside. And maybe there is this object out there, just like the blind feeling. It's like we are blind again. The reflection of the mirror is the reality. So let's like deeper. Before what happened first is the sense of intent. So we have five main sense of intent. Eyes, color, ear, sound, tongue, taste, nose, smell, and finally skin touch. So this is content, sense of content. As you can see, eyes, color, ear, sound, very simple, immediately, not complicated at all. Then is this simple? How can when you open our eyes and see this world, it gives us excitement or sadness, different emotions, and we start to suffer. This eyes can only give us colors. We have it suffering. The thing is, we don't see them as colors. We see an imaginary object things beyond the colors, not the real, but they are our mind's thought, own reflection, believing existing right there. Yes, as we know, eyes can only perceive color. In that color, there's no object, there's nothing. So the mind, the thought can create objects. Our own perception put the object to outside, and now we believe object is something. While clearly there is no object to observe, only just a bunch of colors. There were no object or person or thing, anything to observe, only just a bunch of colors that all person, animal, thing, object, whatever it is completely a thought in the mind. But the thing is, we put this mind thought out there, mind reflection out there, through perception, meaning what's in mind as existing out there. Because of that, we can be absolute an object thing out there. When a sense of content appears, it is simple, immediate, that when the thought begins its work, it reflects it out there. So now we believe thoughts as objects, things, people that exist out there. And the thing is, it doesn't stop there. It says, it goes further. It creates whole stories, not just mental objects, but mental landscapes, 3D spaces out there. So now it says, this is pleasant, this is unpleasant, this is a thing, this is my friend, and now this carefully. Thought did not put thought arrived after, like someone describing the journey, after the journey has already begun. So, thinking, where is this dream? Exactly, it is in the mind, because it can analyze, observe, feel. No, it can only calm, simple text of us, not the whole three-dimensional logic with colors, textures, sounds, taste, smell, everything. Today, the dreams, awareness, but in a whole mind. No, it's moving to more complicated ones. Not just a dream, mother, father, room, house, anything, just like this. Even the time, can we experience the time? Or is it just a thought? Is there a significant time that we can experience a time? Can you skip time? Can I skip time? Can um, skip, give a time? Then there is this time as you feel the thought, the concept, built in the mind, but believe existing out there, not just simply merely existing, but strongly existing. And when we believe this illusion, these thoughts, everything strong existing out there without great big the emotion comes, whether it's happiness or sadness, or anger, hatred, whatever it is. So the stronger the thought is very creative, the stronger the emotion that follows. Then the suffering is also stronger in a high frequency. The more stronger the creativeness, the more suffering we have to go through. So now close your eyes. Think about the tree. Perhaps a large tree. Perhaps a large tree from your childhood appears. Look carefully. What is that? The actual tree is not inside the mind, isn't it? It an actual change into the mind. In the mind, is what appears is recognition. The past experience with acting again. But the thing is, this experience, this thought is never the same, the exact one. It is something similar to that one, but because of its identity, forgot you mistaken it as the same past dream is in, but it is not the same past dream, because the dream is a thought, and each thought appears in each and every time. So if it's disappeared, it cannot come back again. Instead, something similar to that can appear. Because the previous thought dies. So if something dies, it cannot come back again. But we can get something similar. So that's what happens with each and every time. So the thought never is the same. The thought itself is not the same, but as it never feels like a different thought. It feels like we are really experiencing that previous dream itself. At that point, this relation has become strong and strongly believed by us. So the thought it never touched the thing. The chain never appeared in our mind. It's just a feeling, the power that gives us a feeling of um, an experience of the chain. It really actually appear in our mind as a thought. It's just this power of the mind. This power creates an illusion of a thing. But there's no change in the mind. The appearance, not the picture, nothing at all. Just a power that creates an illusion of fake experience, fake reality. You see, There's no space to appear a tree in the mind. It only runs with purpose, like electricity. So this electricity has created an illusion of a real thing object. Yet there's no physically feeling anything. Just a power creates a mirage, a power that makes us see something like a hallucination. But there's no real thought, nothing. So the thought never reached the fear. It reached the mind's own construction. And the thing is its mind's own construction. Is there a construction to be found in the there's no place we can find any object, anything, any tree getting constructed in the mind? It's just only an electricity like that runs to its spot and creates an illusion. No physical objects in there. Okay. It becomes a construction, this illusion, this mirage created by this power feels real, feels real to the point. It's like we are really experiencing, we really physically experience that, but it's amazing. There's no object even in the mind, just a power that creates a feeling of a fake experience, not a real experience, but it feels like we're experiencing. But it's that power creates this illusion of experiencing this reality, this fake reality. So the thing is, the construction is thought. So, because this instruction is hope, is power, feels real, not it is directly to the case as an individual of humanity. Means to confuse the two, the reality, it is faith, it is emotion. But if you use to move, you will find even what it a place it appears, but for us, feel strong, we feel strongly existing, and feel now put it to outside world. But if there is really no object from outside, then it has to be in the mind. So it has to be in the mind. You know, when a thought appears, so when a thought appears, it feels real, like you're almost experiencing it. But from where did it come? There's no location for thought. There's no physical tree, so there's no physical tree out there, as we blindly believe. So is a physical tree now in the mind? Then there is it. Look how this illusion has become stronger to the point it feels like real. There's no tree at all, yet we feel like there's a really existing. And now we know there's no tree out there. So now we have blame it to the mind. We have put it to the mind. So the tree is in the mind as a plant. But when you experience it, when you get this out of thing, you get this feeling like this smell, this leaves, this detail, this touch, this text, everything. But with the real thing to enter the mind. No, but you have a feeling like you're almost experiencing the tree. This if a real tree written in your mind. There's nothing physical inside the mind. Then how do you say by experiencing it? So now you can say things like stuff. We feel like we are really experiencing something, an object, a tree, something, something. Yet that thing is nowhere to be found. The only thing that's in the mind is a power that creates a mirror like a hallucination of a tree. It's temporary. It's not even strong, real. Yet, yet we believe we're experiencing solid, real, when there is no solitude to be found anywhere. Look how we are trapped in this ocean. There's basically no truth at all, not out there, not even in the mind. Yet we have a feeling of that we are experiencing everything. To that point, the thought has become stronger, but powerful. There's no thought, it's the power that ends this illusion. So this power has gotten stronger to the point that illusion feels reality, feels like solid, real thing. So this thought, there's no thought at all to be from. It's the power creates an illusion, a mirage, just an appearance. But there's no place for that appearance, just a feeling like we're experiencing it, no real experience. But the thing is, this feeling with it, this experience, the illusion is stronger because of that power that creates this thought, this illusion is strong to the point we mistaken it as the real. We're trapped in the illusion of the mind, of the power. So now there is no tree to be found anywhere, not out there, not even in the mind. Yet for us, when we hear a tree, do we feel that way? We feel like it's a real solid thing. It's certain look, appearance, certain touch, texture, smell, taste. And that's the illusion of the mind, of that power creates the tree. There's no tree. It's just a power that creates an illusion of what we are experiencing actually. Yet for us, we don't think like we are experiencing an appearance, we are experiencing an illusion. We feel like we are experiencing a real solid tree. And imagine not just one thought, but one after another. appears one after another fake realities. This is what happens. It never ends with the tree. It ends with no thoughts, one after another. Tree, maybe birds, maybe forest, countries, greenery, different directions. It never stops there. Thought always triggers another, never end there. It's one after another. Now what really happening is I don't know it's the appearance of trees or birds or forest. It's just a power that gives us a feeling that we are experiencing this forest, trees, birds. This is the truth of thoughts. This is the truth of life. This is the reality. There is no just things at all. There are just feelings that we feel like we're experiencing, but there's nothing to be found. And what remains is the uncertainty. And that also it's uncertainty that is happening right now, right at this moment, not the previous ones. Because if it's previous one, then it is not the real experience. It's again fake illusion of the mind, comes as a third person object. So what really happens is just right at the moment, some experiences appear. So how the Sheikh Halim on this situation? Because didn't have time to say once it never ends with one thought triggers and another after that. And it's not simply like appearances. They are strong ones. It's strong because solid object, topic thing. And also when you feel like strongly, it's bad because we blindly believe those are real solid because we feel it in that way. If that comes emotions, we start to feel happiness, sadness, anger, hatred, love, everything. For what? That fake reality exist out there. But in reality, there's nothing out there, nothing in the mind. So, but when we blindly believe this mirage, this illusion, not simply but strongly, and that's what we have been doing through our entire lifetime to this point. So it's really hard to escape from this illusion. It's our own mind's perception, illusion. So no one can do it to us. We have to figure out the way. We have to see it ourselves. We have to see the perception right on. We have to see this ourselves. No one can do it for us. And that's not easy as well. This wrong perception is the one that has given the power to these thoughts. Because from the beginning, it's the knowledge of thoughts. People stuck in this fake illusion. That's right. When we see there's nothing in the mind. So, but the thing is, we didn't see that this one is really happening. We thought this feeling, this illusion is really a solid thing, object that is really existing, not just a strong feeling that creates an illusion of a reality, but as the reality solid in itself. That's why it remains there. It created one after another thought, but there is no real object to be found in so long, not just objects, but even self. I mean, myself. This thought is also feels real, feels existing in this area. There's no real self, not out there, not even inside. Let me say, I look at these images of these colors, this face, this shape, everything. But did a real self enter our mind? That face, that look, that appearance, it did enter our mind. But that power creates an illusion that we are experiencing ourselves. That face, that look, that experience. That's why that power, that illusion is powerful to the point it can gives us a state reality. That's why we feel like it's a self existing. But just like the tree, just like any other object, there's no self in the body and even in the mind. As we know, the only thing we can get the direct experience is through sense acquaintance. And the sense acquaintance are always simple. None of them can give a self. Eyes can only give colors. Ears can only give sounds. So none of those things can observe a self. But for us, we strongly feel there is a self. So now we think self is in the mind. But if the self is in the mind, did a physical self enter the mind? Is there any place that the self get appeared in the mind? No, there's nothing, no space for mind. We cannot touch it, we cannot see it. So where is the self then? It's an illusion created by power. That power creates an illusion, an entity, and we call it a self. There's no self at all here, just a power that creates an illusion, a mirage, a hallucination like that. Yet there's no place to be. It's just a feel like we're experiencing a real self. The power is strongest to the point it creates an illusion of we are experiencing, but we are not. So this is the truth behind what we call reality, outside world, things, objects, and even the self. The only thing that left is just simply changing experiences, nothing. And that also happening right at this exact moment, not even a second late or before. So all of the rest are thoughts, thoughts that feels real, like objects, things, and nothing is real or existing or solid. This is the truth behind this fake reality, this illusion created by the mind. When this understanding becomes clear, thought loses its full authority. The power those thoughts carries starts to loosen it. So instead of becoming a reality, it becomes a passing moment, just an event. And what remains is this simple, immediate, ever changing reality, this current right moment that no thought can ever completely capture. So we'll end our morning number discourse for today. Hello, sun, everybody.
I worship Triple Gem with the greatest respect. I worship Aranhasa at his feet, our noble friend, Tirvasanaya Aranhasa. May all our Dhamma friends be blessed by Triple Gem. May our friends who are helping with the technology be blessed by Triple Gem. So this is a continuation of the Buddothpado PeoTV English series. My friend just now finished her session. So this will be continued from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the night daily. And from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., we have a discussion session that any of you can join us. If you have any queries about these sermons, we will try in our best to solve that. So you are welcome to join through this same Zoom link. Buddothpado sermons have been going on for the last 6 years, and the English Sumo started within at the beginning of this year. This is an attempt because we felt that there are people who are looking for the truth. There are so many sermons. If you search through the social network, you can find so many sermons done by different people. What is being preached completely depends on the person's understanding. So it makes it difficult actually because the technology is so advanced. You can hear so many sermons uh, through these different methods of conveying. You can select from so many, but the most important thing is to find out what you have chosen is true. So that is an important point, especially for a person who is uh, doing it as a new person, particularly a person who is not familiar with Buddhism, but keen to find out what is mentioned in these sermons, might have a difficulty in choosing what is the correct truth, what is the true Dhamma that has been disclosed by Lord Buddha nearly 2,600 years ago. Actually, that is a challenge. Truth is common to every person, not only humans, even for the animals. Uh, in our religion, we do believe about the rebirth. Why? Why do we believe about the rebirth? Because we know in some of the faiths or religions, they don't talk about the rebirth. They talk about going to the God after the death. But not only in Buddhism, actually, scientifically, there have been so many instances where it was proven that When a child, particularly it happens in the early childhood, when a child is telling about the previous birth, there have been occasions reported and confirmed cases where the appropriate details are checked by going to those places and confirming that what the child says is true. Actually, in our setting, particularly in Asian setup, people don't like to investigate further because they feel that they will lose the child. So, therefore, they don't like to go and find out exactly what this child is, whether this child is telling the true things. And usually, what happens is when the child grows older, he tend to forget those information. That is a level where the new thoughts are formed, and the previous thoughts that were coming as new perceptions will get faded away little by little. So, very many occasions, as I said, parents of the present life don't like to investigate. But Lord Buddha always said about the rebirth, and being born again is a suffering. That was the conclusion that Lord Buddha said. Uh, being born in any way is a suffering, even though a person does not have any issues with the health, any issues with the wealth, any issue, any other major issues. In the absence of any other issues, person might think that my living is a pleasure. But what is hidden under that is a living pleasure. Is something that you have to dig out, analyze, and see. Birth itself is a suffering, isn't it? The birth of the physical body is a suffering, even though we can't remember about how we suffered at the time of the physical birth. I'm talking about the mundane world at this moment. So, being born itself is a suffering. And as a child, small child, we are really helpless. We have to depend on somebody for each and everything. Even the hunger we can't express, the thirst we can't express, the discomfort due to a wetness or coldness or something pressing on the body, uh, or an unpleasant sound, uh, uncomfortable light, brightness to the eye. So any of those discomforts you can't communicate. Only way is crying. So you can see that the life is a suffering for the child, but it is a pleasure to the adults or the parents. They are very happy because they have got a child, and see the sufferings that the person go through, the growing old. You have to do some form of studying. Education is not something easy. Education is not something that is enjoyable, particularly when you grow up. And education, and then have to find out some form of income to live, and the usual program in the life: marrying, uh, finding a suitable person, marrying, and then having children, and bearing the uh, responsibilities of the children. So these are all sufferings. The moment that we get something correct, we think that we are happy. But just see if that what you gained was lost for some reason, or what you gained was altered, not exactly the way that you wanted, there is suffering underneath. And uh, If you couldn't get what you wanted at all, that is another suffering. So, all these parts of the life, you have the suffering, but you don't actually label them as suffering because you overlook that suffering. You just see the top of the iceberg, floating iceberg. You see that the top part, which is so called happiness, but under the happiness, there's a much heavier component of sadness or suffering. So, as I said, if you couldn't study properly, if you couldn't get the proper uh, way of having an income, a job, or whatever, and if the marriage was not successful, if your children were having some problems, and if the children, when they grow up, were very stubborn and uh, not uh, listening to your advices, and if the children marries according to their wishes against your wishes. Now these are all sufferings. But as I said, you concentrate only the superficial happiness only. And a person falling sick. Now I'm not talking about just the major illnesses, but see, all of us go through some form of uh, uh, even mild to moderate illnesses. You can't escape from them because you have a physical body. So, illnesses are sufferings, and the aging is not something that you can stop anyway. So, aging is is another suffering. And finally, the birth is always associated with death. So, we don't know what is the time that the death is coming to us. So death is a suffering. So even if a person says that I got everything that I wanted, I had a very peaceful life. I have been very happy throughout my life. The facts that the suffering that you had at birth and subsequently until you become independent, the suffering that you have with the illnesses, the suffering that you have with your aging, and the suffering that you have with the death, these cannot be uh, avoided for any person. Even if you get whatever you wished in your life, even if you label yourself as a very fortunate person, you cannot escape from those four sufferings, isn't it? So, uh, the birth itself is a suffering. Now, I am sure we have seen these things enough and enough in our lifetime. Did we feel the gravity of the suffering in those instances? We have seen babies being born. You may have had your own children, and you never thought that birth was a suffering. You thought it was just a pleasure and happiness because you got a child. The impression is that the children will look after us when they grow up. So that is the impression, isn't it? And the fact that Prince Siddhartha saw these four things uh, as a prince, he had everything in his life. He was happily married to the beautiful young princess Yashodhara, and uh, he received every comfort from his father, king, because he was expected to be the next king in the generation. So, in spite of having all those, when he saw these uh, three things, a, a sick person, an elderly person, old person, and a death being carried, and fourth, of course, a person clad in a robe, walking very calmly on the street. and he was introduced or by Chan, his assistant. He said he's a person who is trying to find the truth. So see the difference between you and Prince Siddhartha. He saw those four situations which clicked immediately. Uh, his wisdom came up to, he wanted to find out the truth. He wanted an escape from those three situations. Now he felt it's useless becoming a king and having all kinds of comforts, but instead he wanted to uh, find out the truth, how to escape from these sufferings. Vast difference between his attitude and yours and mine, isn't it? We have attended so many funeral houses. We have seen so many people falling sick. Even we ourselves have fallen sick so many times during the life. And we have seen so many people who have aged, our own parents, our grandparents, or other aunts and uncles, see the difference of their appearance 20 years ago. Now they are old and feeble and undergoing so many difficulties. Did that click any light in our mind? No. And we knew that we all go through that same phase. As a knowledge, we knew that yes, we were born, now we have to live, and we also fall sick at any time, and we will be getting older, and one day we will die. We know it like a knowledge. I mean, like parrots. We have been repeating that also, but without having that inner transformation or without having any kind of uh, uh, wisdom to investigate it further. And we have seen enough monks, enough temples. We have gone to enough temples. We have gone to enough monasteries. We have listened to so many Dhamma sermons about the sufferings in this life. But at any point, did it click the correct point? No. We just sort of like watching a film. We just attended those things. We just saw them, experienced them. We heard about those details, but it was just some sort of brushing off from the superficial level. It's like putting water to the, uh, dropping some water to the rock. It will not absorb the water, it will just let it slip away. So, isn't that the fact with you and me? But for Prince Siddharth, it was like putting some water to the dry soil, which got quickly absorbed. And see the difference between you and me and Prince Siddhartha. We have been given so many opportunities to see these things, but uh, Prince Siddhartha never heard any Dhamma sermon from anybody. He never listened to any of the uh, any of the sermons like that we do, because there was no one to give a sermon like that. The people who were trying to find the truth at that time were mostly meditating, mostly doing the samatha meditation or the concentration meditation. They felt very comfortable with that. So they thought that is the end of it. So Prince Siddhartha felt that this is not what I am looking for. That is why he left all the teachers time to time that he met and tried to find everything by himself. Now, for you and me, we have got all these ready made things done. The enough sermons are there. we can get everything clarified by asking a question. Our noble friend Aryan Mahansi is conducting about 8 Zooms each day. And for the people who are speaking only English language, you can join the 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Zoom every day in English medium. So see the opportunities that you and me have compared to Prince Siddhartha. Prince Siddhartha was the best. Lord Buddha was the best noble friend that we can ever have. So he found out everything by himself because he knew that this suffering has to be ended. If the suffering is to be ended, he went back to the root. He found out that death means always there is associated birth. So he was focusing on the birth. How is a person is being born? What are the things that needs to be fulfilled? What are the criteria? How does it happen? So there were many questions that he wanted to uh, get clarified. So he took a long time for so many years because without a teacher, all by himself, finding all by himself. We use the Pali term Samma Sambuddha because without the guidance of any teachers, the truth was all found by himself. So therefore, he's called Samma Sambuddha, the unique term which is given only, which is used only for the Lord Buddha. And the truth that he found out was disclosed to the rest of the world, and all the arhants followed him, getting his advices, getting his guidance. They reached that uh, status of arhat with all the support, guidance, advice given by Lord Buddha. And arhats were asked to go to different direction in the Indian continent and spread this true Dharma to the people as much as possible. And I remember Lord Buddha said two people should not go on the same road because he wanted to distribute this Dhamma as much as possible because he felt that suffering is not something that you have to sort of hang on to when there is a solution. So he felt that this Dhamma should be spreaded as much as possible. We know those days there were no other methodology to spread this Dhamma. There was no technical advancement. So it was a matter of physically going up to the people and then explaining the Dhamma. And we know that sometimes Lord Buddha walked so many miles uh, to a particular place. Sometimes it is simply to explain this Dhamma to one person, because when he felt that this particular person is capable of understanding this Dhamma, he wouldn't care about the difficulty of walking or difficulty of attending that place. The distance was not a matter for him. So he always made it a point at least to focus on one person and explain this Dhamma. And we have heard that in the state called Magadha, out of 7 million, 7 million people, 5 million people attained the level of Sotapanna, which is such a beautiful thing to hear because it was the effort that was put by Lord Buddha and all the arhants. So these arhants will walk in different directions depending on whatever they get as alms. They will temporarily stay somewhere in the night wherever they get a place, maybe even under a tree, maybe even a cave if there is one, if not any other pilgrim's rest or wherever. So they had a very tough time at that time, but still they didn't mind. They knew that this message has to be spreaded to the world to reduce, to minimize, or help them to get rid of uh, the suffering. Uh, so, as I said, suffering is not something that we can see from outside. Sometimes we feel that suffering is it's not sometimes obvious to us. So we feel that we are comfortable and we are happy, but uh, the suffering we have to understand. Now we know that it is something like a sugar coated bitter gourd. This is one of the examples that I have given. From superficial, from outside, it looks uh, sweet and nice, but inside, always the sadness or the bitterness or the suffering is there. Uh, so, what did Lord Buddha say? Lord Buddha tried to say that we are living in a world, imaginary world. What Lord Buddha tried to explain was that always uh, we have to see how this world is created. Not only the world which is created, but along with the world, the person, the self is also created. That is where the problem is. The self is also created along with that. The world is also created. So both are occurring parallelly. Uh, so this is a Dhamma where we look at the life to realize that there is no self here. But that self concept is something that is coming up very strongly. A very strong concept is coming up. Uh, it is something that is felt throughout the day and even in the sleep. When we are seeing dreams, we feel that we are uh, we are alive, we are living. So this self concept is something that we have to understand. It's not easy because we have had this self concept all this time, and uh, self concept is something also you can say it is an illusion. Illusion means something created right now at this moment. කරන්ට් එක ගියාම එන්නේ මොකද්ද? අර මේ දරුවෝ අර ඉංග්‍රීසි එක අහන්නේ. Yes, there was Saranai. There was an interruption with there was a technical issue, I think. So we will restart the discussion. So if I continue from where I stopped, actually, we do not realize our suffering. We do not realize how this birth itself, how this life living itself, how this aging itself, how the illnesses and how this death itself carries a huge amount of suffering to all of us. Prince Siddhartha found this actually, and then he left all his comforts, all his beautiful life that he was spending with his beautiful princess. And he wanted to find the truth. He wanted to find how to escape from these sufferings. So that is why you and me, we are very fortunate now because we hear that Dhamma, the true Dhamma that was found out by Lord Buddha. And we are even more fortunate. We don't know, we may have listened to Dhamma from him at that time, but there was a long gap actually, particularly in Sri Lanka. There was a time period where there was no proper Dhamma teaching. Now we are very fortunate to hear these Dhamma facts from our noble friend R.N. Vahanse. And not only that, it is explained in such a simple, simplified manner. And we have the fortune of talking to R.N. Vahanse, noble friend, at any time to get any of our doubts clarified. The nature is such that nature is always to the direction to continue everything. Continuation of life, continuation of the environment, and having the next generation, reproduction. So those are the ways that the continuity is maintained. And we are, if we do not understand this Dhamma, we will be getting trapped in this process, and we will not be able to understand what is happening to us. An endless samsara journey, the recycle of the birth cycle. We are caught up in that birth cycle process. So Lord Buddha said that the people who are born as humans, a very small percentage of them will have another birth as a human being. Why? He actually gave a beautiful example. He took a little bit of soil on his nail and showed it to Anand Thero and said, compare this amount of soil with the amount of soil on the whole earth planet and see how small this amount is. And that is the amount of people who will understand this Dhamma and give a break to this cycle of births. Rest, of course, will continue. So you can see what an opportunity that we have got. We are born as human beings and we can listen to this true Dhamma. We are born with our organs intact so that we can see, we can hear this Dhamma. We know that if a person is born with any absence of absence of either ears or eyes, that person, even if the other senses are there, he will find it extremely difficult to understand the truth, because the world created with the rest of the senses is different from a person who is having the normal all five senses intact. So you and me can hear this Dhamma now, being born as humans, and we have got the organs intact, the functioning organs are there. What else are you expecting? What other things are you demanding? And why are you wasting the time without analyzing this Dhamma, without trying to revise and understand this Dhamma? Isn't it such a wastage of every fortune that you received? It is, yes. So, as I said, the nature of the world is such that continuity, next generation, that is the rule actually. Now, Lord Buddha said that the the ability or a possibility of a person being born again as a human is so rare. You can compare the amount of animals, insects living in this planet alone. Compare that amount along with the population, human population. See how small it is. The humans, proportionate wise, extremely small in number. So you can imagine now how this birth cycle is occurring. And one of the frequent things mentioned by our noble friend Aryan Mahanse is that a person who is having a pride or an ego, high level of ego, is destined to be born as a monkey. And if the ego or the pride is even more, the destiny will be to be born as a dog. So these words have been mentioned by Lord Buddha himself. And our noble friend Aryan Mahanse is reminding those very often to us. So that indicates that we are not just sharing this life along with the other humans. We are cycling between the human and all kinds of other lives also. Uh, there's a history, there's a story in the Buddhist teaching. One day, Lord Buddha and the rest of the monks, along with Ananda Thero, were walking on a road, and there was a line of ants crossing the road. And Lord Buddha stopped there and then had a sort of mild smile on his face, and Anantara was in, inquisitive about it. He was asking, Venerable Sir, why are you smiling? Why are you looking at these ants and smiling? And he said, Lord Buddha said that each of these ants have been an emperor, that means a king of kings at one point. So that shows, that was a very short message actually, which gives the idea, basic idea, where all of us, we don't know where we are going to be. We don't know where we came from. So we may have gone through all those phases. And at one point, we were fortunate enough to be born as humans. So the story about the rebirth uh, is again and again confirmed. It's not only with the stories that are mentioned by small children who can remember about their past life. It's about all kinds of animals and insects. And of course, not forgetting the ones without the physical bodies. So, those things actually we can't see because our spectrum of understanding these things is greatly limited. But with the wisdom, the super wisdom that Lord Buddha and the Arhants those days. There are many explanations done related to these births. And Lord Buddha has explained in so many situations where humans were born as animals and the animals were born again and again in the same species also. So these stories shows how horrifying is this samsara journeys. There's no assurance. Uh, Whatever the good things that you are doing, whatever the meritorious work that you are doing in this life, there's no assurance that you will continue to have a good life throughout. So that is why uh, the Prince Siddhartha, as a hermit, when he left the palace, uh, he found out that the birth is the one that has to be prevented. Along with the birth, so many things, the aging, sicknesses, and the death, they all are tagged with this concept called birth. So, birth is the one which has to be identified and prevented. So, he wanted to find out how is a person being born? What is a cause for the birth? Was the question that he had to find out, which was the most difficult thing to find out, I would say. So, uh, each uh, each birth, he wanted to analyze what is the cause for the birth. We know that one of the statements that Lord Buddha made, uh, the carpenter who is building this house called life is the tanha or the craving. So he said, I found out the carpenter who is building this house. The carpenter is a craving, and I will not allow that carpenter to build another house for me. And this is my last birth, and no more bodies, no more lives for me. So that was a beautiful statement that indicated that it was his last life, and uh, the the power or the current or the craving that builds up another life has been brought to an end, brought to the zero level. So inquiring a bit more about this craving or this tanha leading to another life, I think we have to go a little deeper from that of that and then find out how it is happening. The At the time of the death of the physical body, the last thought, we know that the thoughts, the mind is a process, mind is a flow of thoughts, and a very speedy flow of thoughts is labeled as mind. So there is no single solid thing called mind, but the mind means it's a fast process of thoughts. So the very last thought at the end of this physical body is called Chutisita. So the Chutisita is something that is beautifully explained by Lord Buddha also. Each thought we know has some form of uh, power or a current. Each thought it's something similar to the uh, gravity power or the electric, you can also say electric power, uh, uh, magnetic power. So there are so many powers which are explained. The mind power is also something like that. Mind power is a created current. The current is created from the beginning of the uh, zygote level. That means the beginning of the life in the mother's womb. So the zygote is the single cell formed from two cells from the mother and father. So from that level onwards, the current is there, the power is there, and that power is becoming stronger and stronger when the when it comes to the level of thought formation, maybe around 1.5, 2 years of the age for the child. The thoughts start forming, and these thoughts have a power or the current. And actually, throughout the life, uh, the current of the thoughts becomes stronger and stronger unless that person listen to this Dhamma and then have come to an understanding. That is the only instant where the current will become less and less. But in all the other situations, the current becomes stronger and stronger in each and every thought. What do you mean by current becoming stronger? The word is felt as true. That is the reason for the current becoming stronger. We know as the small child, we didn't have a word. We didn't know anything about the world. You might remember this childhood or the small age of your children or maybe your grandchildren. You used to say that they don't know about the world. They have to learn about the things little by little, isn't it? So that is a traditional way, that is a usual way of any living being, any human particularly. So the human babies are taught more and more, and we talk about schooling, we talk about uh, giving even tuition in our setup. We talk about the parental teaching at home and having higher education. Now, all these things actually provide more and more data to prove that the world is true. So, actually, a concept which wasn't there as a baby, we help the child to build up that concept, wrong concept called really existing world. So, this is where the things are going wrong. We teach the child, showing the things, and we give the word. That is how the thoughts are formed. It's not only the two senses that I mentioned, it is not only the eye and the ear senses, but uh, the other three senses, the taste, smell, and the skin sensor, they also can combine depending on uh, the stimulus. So uh, uh, it's always common to see all five getting together, but most often it is the eye and the ear. Ditta and Sutta. Ditta means what is seen, Sutta means what is heard. The other one called Mutta. Mutta has three components in that, the taste, smell, and the skin sensation. And combination of these will lead to Vinyata or the mind sensor, formation of the mind sensor. So all these things will combine to form the uh, thoughts, and the thoughts are uh, powerful, as I said, simply because the other sensors do have a current. Uh, as I said, the current is something similar to the magnetic power, the gravity power. The mind power is also a form of a current, which you can't actually see. The current is not something that you can see. Current is not something that you can hear, not something that you can feel. it has to be manifested in some way. We know that the simple current, the electricity, unless it is manifested uh, in some way, we don't know whether the current is there. The live wire, we call it live wire. If the live wire is connected to a bulb, you can manifest it as a light. If the live wire is connected to a fan, you can manifest it as some wind. And if it is connected to the fridge, it is manifested as some cooling. So in the similar way, we know that the magnetic power is manifested only if you keep some steel parts close to it. You can see that how the magnet is attracting them. And the gravity power is manifested. You can't show a particular place and say, this is where the gravity power is. But uh, the gravity power is manifested by seeing that uh, the plants and the humans and the buildings all are kept on the surface of the earth. This stable standing on the surface of the earth will not occur uh, if the gravity power isn't there. So it has to be manifested in some way. We know that the gravity power was just very first at the very first time found out when that scientist observed an apple falling from the tree to the ground. He was wondering how this apple just straight away went up to the ground level without going away to different directions. So like that, the mind power is also something like a current which will be manifested in the form of a powerful thought, or it will be manifested as a word, or it will be manifested as an action. So again, it's called sankhara or the constructs. So it can be a powerful thought which we feel as if real thought, or it will come out as words. You can see that always before talking we have to think, isn't it? The thought has to come before it is expressed. And if the thought is more powerful, it is expressed as some form of physical activity. So the physical activity may be in the form of something like walking, uh, uh, combing the hair, some form of action, or even something like physically attacking a person, pushing a person, pulling a person, and in worse situations, even physically harming a person. So these are all manifestations of that mind power. Mind power means, in other words, the level of the current. So the level of the current is very important because as I said, the level of current that we had as a child is very minimal. That is a level of the current which continued from the level of the zygote. That we use the term sasava for that. And what happens with this current? As Lord Buddha said, that the current will get more and more stronger, and and that is because of the avijja, or the fact that we don't understand that these all are creations. We have all kinds of defilements, attachments, aversions, and feeling of real existence, raga, dvesha, moha. So those are the defilements which are the stronger version of the uh, sasava. Sasava is manifested as ashrava. Uh, and when you talk about the ashrava or the defilements, Lord Buddha explains four things. Even though it is labeled as four things, uh, it is they are actually connected to each other. They are mutually helping each other. Uh, so they are actually karma ashra. That means all kinds of attachments or uh, aversions towards something. Now, if you like, if you love your child, if you love your properties, if you love your parents with with a burning sort of type of attachment, craving, uh, those are all coming under karma ashrava, and hatreds and aversions coming under karma ashrava. Karma ashrava occurs when there is bhava ashrava. Bhava ashrava means that feeling of existence. If something is felt as real, if something is felt as really existing, that is where the bhava is formed. Bhava means the existence. In Pali, you can call it itta sanyava. So when there is itta sanyava, the feeling of existence, always you are attached to that, or you don't want to get rid of it. So the bhavashrava is needed for the karma ashrava. And dittashrava. Dittashrava means a feeling of existence, feeling of self. Sorry. So always feeling of self and feeling of existence. That means the Atma Sanyava and uh, Bhava Sanyava, Itta Sanyava. So these are Itta Sanyava or Bhava Sanyava and Atma Sanyava, feeling of existence, feeling of uh, self. These go hand in hand all the time. So they are mutually helping each others. So in other words, the Dittashrava means that feeling of uh, self. And the other one is Avijjashrava. Avijjashrava means the ignorance. So when the ignorance is there, when you do not know actually what is happening here, when you do not understand that there is no real self here, they are all illusions and creations. Uh, they are all connected to each other. So the avijjashva means the lacking the knowledge or lacking the understanding of all these things which are instant creations in the mind. So the ashrava, the four types of ashrava go hand in hand. All four come at the same time. One will not exist without the others. So that is the level of the defilements or the ashrava. So this ashrava is the one which is interpreted as the current or the power. This is something that we have to very clearly understand. The defilements or the current or the fire is the one which gets more and more stronger with the life. That means your world becomes larger and larger. Your real, so called real world becomes stronger and stronger. Think about something like your child. You didn't have a child before your marriage. You didn't have a child when you were schooling, isn't it? The child was born, say, for example, we will take as if your child is 20 years now. Child was born maybe 21 years before when you became pregnant. From that was the time where the concept of child came up. And the child, the concept called child, became stronger and stronger by now for the last 20 years with all kinds of data that was introduced or that was fed. Always it was confined to the five senses. You saw the child, you felt the child, you could hear the child's voice, you could feel the child's body, and you could smell the child. Now, isn't it the way that the child's concept became stronger and stronger? And stronger this concept is, more the data that you are fed with, the concept of child becomes more stronger. More stronger means, in other words, you have a real child. That is where you can talk about the perception of existence, something which is happening repeatedly, especially when all the senses are putting the data on the same stimulus or the same thought. It becomes stronger and stronger. Now you have a child about whom you have the data for the last 21 years. I'm talking about a child who is 20 years. So, from the time that the child was in your womb, from the time you had that current which was built up, you may have seen the child in the scanner, on the scan picture. The doctor may have shown you, this is your baby. That was an eye perception, isn't it? And the sound, the ear perception that you received from the doctor, the perception that was made at your ear level, in accordance with the vibration from the doctor's sound. Uh, you had that very first concept, my baby. And subsequently, when the baby was born, the other senses also start giving the input, the frequent touching, frequently seeing, and frequently hearing the sound, and frequent smell of baby. All these things build up more and more strongly. The current of that thought becomes stronger and stronger. And not only that, subsequently see the load of data that you are receiving, and uh, the current becomes stronger and stronger about this child's concept. The child uh, who is being fed by you, the child who is being looked after when the child falls ill, the likings of the child, the things that the child doesn't like, the way he talks, the way he's attached, the way he shows his love to the mother, uh, the way that he performs at the school, the way he that have his friends, and all kinds of things, the way that he studied, the way that he got through the exams. Now see the how huge the amount of data that you have. This heavy load of data means it has a stronger current, very strong current. So you can take an example from your life. It may not be the sun for you, but it may be a different topic. So maybe you can take your mother, father, or a sibling to whom you are very much attached, or your husband or wife. So you can take any topic to analyze this explanation. I have taken the sun as an example. So by now, at the end of 20 years, the current, I use the word current here now, the load of information or the load of data is equal to the current that is created along with this thought. What is that current? That current is very heavy, isn't it? Now, when you are thinking about your son, particularly if the son is not with you now, if we will say he's abroad studying, or maybe he's in a faraway uh, place working or studying, you are away from him. Just a thought about the son. Oh, my son, I love him so much. So, with those feelings, you can feel how heavy it is, isn't it? If you don't get a call on the expected date from him, expected time and day from him, or if he's not answering the phone when you try to call him, Can you feel the backlash of that uh, current, the equally heavy sadness which is coming up? He has forgotten me. He's not bothered about talking to me now. How much I have done to him. What sort of dedication did I do in my life to bring him up to that level? Now see how the current has gone to a different direction with a different label. Earlier, it was the current was labeled as love and affection and uh, caring type of label. Now the sadness and maybe even the anger. Why is he doing that? Things like that. Why has he changed? Now these are different uh, appearances of the same current. Current is same. The burning is same. Whether it is a happy burning or a sad burning, it's not going to be different. Both are the same current, same raw material, given two labels, felt in, named in two different ways. So the that is a current which is going to be very decisive in your Chutisita. Now, I just took this example of the son who is 20 years, but say you are now 70 years, you are old and sick, and you are now expecting your death at any moment. What is lingering in your mind is the most likely thing that will come up as in the Chutisita. So, if you had this sadness, or if you had some form of anger, or on the other hand, you had a craving. You wanted to live more. You wanted to be with your children longer time than the time that is destined for you. You don't like to leave your property. You want to do many more things before your death, isn't it? Now just see, if you ask somebody, are you prepared to die right now at this moment? No one will say yes. All will say, I have to do these things. I have to write the property to the children. I have to visit my youngest son at least once before I die. I like to see the birth of my grandchild who will be born soon. And uh, I like to wait until the marriage of my grandchild. Now, see the amount of expectations you are having. You don't want to leave anything, isn't it? Uh, and you may be worried, what will happen to the money that I have saved? Who will take it? What will happen to my jewelry? How will they divide it among themselves? I couldn't do enough meritorious things. I couldn't go to the temple as I expected. So I wanted to understand some Dhamma before I die, but I couldn't do it. Now, like that, you have got so many things always to be done. So, therefore, no one except a person in the Arhat state, except an Arhat, will say that, yes, I'm ready to die right now. Because for Arhat, there's nothing called death, there's nothing called birth, because it's very clearly understood that birth and death means the birth and death of each thought. The death of the physical body is simply the breathing coming to an end only. The breath which was taken in will be uh, taken out, sent out. That is what is called death for the Arhat. But for you and me, it is that birth of the physical body which was born long ago. That is the one which is going to die. So before the death of that physical body, we have got so many things to do before that, isn't it? So for the Arhant, they know that death of the physical body is nothing beyond just uh, breathing out for the last time. So, do you realize that we have such a big amount of current left? So, in the Chutisita, the current which is there, the power of that thought, or in other words, the degree of feeling that thought as real, is going to be a very important decisive factor about your whereabouts after the death. As Lord Buddha said that the humans who are born with maybe much less current becomes much more at the time of the death. Therefore, most of us are destined to be born in lower realms. Lord Buddha said that hell is something like our ancestral home. We are going in and out very often. That, in other words, what was explained was that the the current or the power in each life becomes more and more stronger. So therefore you can't expect to be born in a higher realm at the end of it, except like that amount of soil that was shown by Lord Buddha on his nail. That tiny bit of people will try to make an effort to understand this Dhamma and then get rid of that current at the time of the uh, death or the ending of this physical body. So this current cannot be neutralized as it is. Instantly, you can't neutralize it. The current will synchronize to some other suitable uh, current. This is what happens. This is what is explained as uh, uh, synchronization or telepathization. The current which is not switched off at this end will synchronize to a suitable current, maybe with a physical body or maybe without a physical body. So we know that the physical body means only it is the humans and the other animals that we can experience by our eyes, ears, and the body or the five senses. But the uh, other realms cannot be seen or cannot be experienced with our senses. But you can't say that there are no other realms. Yes, there are. So those are the ones that are explained as uh, hell, heaven, or the Brahma levels uh, by Lord Buddha. And those could be without any physical body, but just with some at the level of a vibration. So this talk about the vibration of this last thought. If it is at a very high level current, say for example, a person's nature is such that he's always angry or sad, that sadness or anger will be there, very likely it will be there in the last thought or the Chutisita also. So when the physical body comes to an end, that current, if there is a suitable uh, current to which it is matching, it will synchronize there and then continue that as another birth. So, as I mentioned earlier, as our RN always reminds us about being born as a monkey or a dog, there are some of the examples. And even Lord Buddha's time, there are many occasions that Lord Buddha has shown that uh, this was this particular person, uh, or there are many occasions where he indicated animals, uh, and he could see with his super wisdom that they were human beings in the previous birth. So it goes on like a cycle. So if a person's ego is very high, the pride or uh, uh, the self concept is very strong, or the defilements are very strong, the vibration that is there, the high vibration that was there at the time of the last birth, will most probably synchronize to the vibration of a fetus in an animal's womb. If a person is born like that, it's in the Buddhist history, it says that it is very difficult to get back to a human life again. So these are some of the uh, true facts which are explained is in Dhamma teaching. So you can have some idea that how dangerous this uh, samsaric journey is. So once if the person, how can you get rid of the current is the next question. So getting rid of the current means first you have to find out how it is formed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the concept of the sun, which was built up over the time, is simply because you do not see it from the angle where how this concept is made with the function of the five senses. So it's very clear how the concept called sun was made. It was by seeing him very often. Again and again, you are seeing your son. Again and again, you hear his sound. And again, you feel his voice. You hear his voice. Again and again, you feel him, isn't it? Again and again, you feel his smell. Of course, the taste is not applicable to the topic called sun. So, with this data formed again and again, when the things are repeated again and again, that obviously existing perception of existence is invariably occurs. And not only that, when the perception of existence occurs, the next thing is the perception of self. So the current is very high at that moment. And this current or this power is equal to the self. Whatever the thing becomes, whatever a person or a thing or an activity becomes a thing to you, we call it Basaganimi in Sinhala. So Basaganima, or becoming a thing, or becoming something real, something existing, something alive. So those are the words I can use to explain. So that real feeling is the one, as I said, which is the current. And also real feeling is the one which is called as self. So when you see how this is formed, the the technique of this formation, which we use the word Kubbe Nivasanusati Jnane. It is a wisdom of seeing the past perceptions, how these perceptions got together to form this concept called self. So it's always the five senses which are combined together, five or maybe four or maybe three or two. So the senses will combine to form the present thought. The past thoughts will combine to form the present thought. That is your Pubbe Nivasa Anusati Jnane, and the Chutupapata Jnane means the wisdom of seeing the present thought. So the present thought is a repetition of the past thoughts. Past thoughts means always it is the sensor functions. And senses, if you talk about the light, sound, smell, taste, and the skin sensation, they are all just instant creations at that sensor level. If the sensor function was not there, you can't talk about seeing things, hearing things, or feeling the things as skin sensations, or taste, or smell. So, simply because the sensors were there, simply because the sensor function was there, you can talk about these creations. And the creations are always due to the speed. So, basically, these creations are not true. The word creations we are using because they are not true, because they are not really existing. Combination of something which is not true will form something else, another product called thought, which is again not possible to be true. If the combined components were not true, if the combined components were real, just uh, creations due to the speed, then you can't talk about uh, the thoughts being true. So the thoughts self is not true. So the sun is a thought, isn't it? Instantly, it is something created right now. If I say that just a fraction of second before I mentioned the word sun, the sun was not in your mind. But when the sun is born, in accordance with my sound, uh, you have that feeling that he's living over there, wherever he is. That is your uh, perception of existence. Or, in other words, when you feel that he's living there, the perceiver is here on this side. I am the one who is feeling now. I am the one who is remembering about him. So the self is the other creation of that. Now, when you realize this mechanism, how this present thought is formed over the time, how the uh, perceptions piled up, and then now you have got a completely solid existing real sun. That is how your present thought is formed. When you realize this mechanism, you know that actually this is simply a creation in the mind at this moment. So that value or the current that was created in relation to the topic called sun becomes less and less. So that is called asavakya. Asavakya means the defilements are being faded away little by little. So when you understand how this thought is formed, you know what is the nature of the present thought is, because the present thought is formed in that way. When the present thought is realized and transcended, you go through it, you pierce through the present thought, and then you feel that there's no truth in the present thought. The value, that heaviness that you had to the thought called sun becomes less. In other words, your defilements or your craving or your attachment towards the sun becomes less. It doesn't mean that you are going to respond to him in a different way, or you are going to call him less often, and you are not bothered about going and visiting him. It's not so. You were doing it with a burning earlier. Now you can do those things without a burn. So, this is the current. When you understand how this is happening, that is the only way that helps you to reduce that level of power in the last Chutisita. More you think, more you try to understand about these thoughts, how the thoughts are formed, more you understand about this darshana aspect. The value, that burn that you had to the topic called sun, becomes less and less. Of course, you love your son, but not with that burn. You do care about the son. You will go and visit him. You will do everything that he wanted when he comes home. So there's no change at all. There's no way that it is uh, showing a difference from outside, the way that you are behaving. You will be doing everything possible. You will be more efficient even than the other times. You will be able to do it with more metta and more compassion towards him. But your side, the current is zero. Current is becoming less and less. So, as I said, if your worry was whether I'll be different after listening to Dhamma, certainly not. You will be a more helpful, more concerned mother, and you will be more relaxed within yourself. You will be able to perform every responsibility and the commitment in a more useful manner. Uh, so the there is a beautiful metaphor given by R.N. Mahanse about uh, this current. What he says is that a vehicle going on the motorway, you stop pumping the fuel. When you stop pumping the fuel, from the remaining fuel and from the remaining power of moving forward, the vehicle will move forward up to a certain level. And then when there is no more fuel pumped, it will stop. So in the same way, when the current is zero, the body will continue to function, because as long as the breathing is there, the sensor organs will continue to function. So you are getting thoughts. The thoughts are not heavy. Thoughts are not going to tax you. Thoughts are not going to exhaust you. You can act according to the thoughts. You can plan according to the thoughts. No issue, no problem at all. And when you understand this mechanism, the thoughts are simply thoughts. Thoughts are not something that makes you feel very uncomfortable, and the thoughts will come and go. It's like the sky. The clouds are coming and clouds are passing. The space is there, space is watching. Space has nothing to do about the clouds. And the clouds may be different types, different shapes. Whatever the clouds, it's immaterial to the space or the sky, and it will continue to flow through. And no one is trying to stop the clouds coming, and no one is trying to send them off quickly. So it is just a matter of the natural process, just a matter of the natural system. So, uh, so the current or the power means, in other words, defilements. Or, as I said, it is the other side of the coin. It is a self. So when your awakened nature is more and more powerful, you will be able to see all these thoughts, how the thoughts are coming, how the thoughts are leaving. You become an observer. It's Lord R.N. Mahansi explains it as a drama, where at the beginning you are really living in that character and acting. Uh, it looks real. Actually, you are also happy that you are performing it very well. And the next stage is that You are no more an actor, you are an observer. So you are in the audience. Uh, but maybe time to time you feel like get onto the stage and acting for them. So that situation is some form of fluctuation between the mind level and the field level. And the last one Arano has explained is that you are like the director of the uh, drama. So director hasn't got anything to do with that thing. He knows that this is a full drama and he's an observant. He's not taking part in the drama as it is, but he's just being an observer only. So these are some of the simple metaphors given by R.N. Mahanse to explain how this process is taking place. So as I said, the current is generated as a part of the system. The system means the functions of the all five senses, and the function of the all five senses will combine to make the fifth, sixth sensor called the thought. So the thoughts, formation of the thoughts is another part of that process. When the same thought occurs again and again, there is a current created there, the power created there. That power cannot be visualized, felt, or heard, but the current will be manifested in some way. And the manifestation uh, uh, is parallel to the self. So actually, the self means that current itself, but we feel as if we are alive. We feel as if we hear the things. We feel as if we see the things. And we feel that we can uh, feel taste, smell, and the body senses. So that feeling of existence is a part of that ignorance, where when you thoroughly do not understand how these thoughts are formed, how the thoughts are empowered, how the thoughts are fortified, how the current is multiplied. And more current means strongly you feel that it is real. More current means uh, you feel that really existing. And that current is the one which is interpreted as self. Actually, there was no self in this story, never existed, but something never existed has come up as a very strong misconception. A strong myself is rising each and everywhere with a different appearance. Now, a person who is going on the Dhamma path will realize that uh, the most of the fires that he was experiencing is no more there. So the system is happy now. I have improved. I have progressed very well in this Dhamma path. I don't get angry with such situations. I don't have craving to these type of foods which I had a craving at the beginning. I don't have a craving to buy new clothes, and I'm not that attached to my children or grandchildren. Now see how the self is coming from a different way. The self is coming with a different mask. That is a good myself, the self who is progressing in the Dhamma path. Now, these are the places, these are the points that you have to discuss at these Dhamma sessions and get cleared. Otherwise, the bad myself will disappear. The good myself will be surviving. So the good myself is no different from bad myself. Equally, the the topic has become a thing. The self, myself, has come in a different phase, different way of appearing. So, as I said, there are many pitfalls in this Dhamma pathway. It's very important to uh, recognize these pitfalls. That is where the noble friend or the Kalyana Mitra's guidance is needed. Our Aryan Vahase, Kalyana Mitra, Aryan Vahase has given us uh, so many advices, so many points where we went wrong, and he has directed us to the correct path there. So, therefore, it's important to not assume the things. The mind sensor is very happy to put the right mark in front of you. The mind will come to the conclusion, oh, yes, now I can understand this Dhamma. I'm doing very well. I'm very successful, and I have revised enough. I have listened enough, and that is the end. So, those are very common interpretations by the mind sensor. Whether your child became a thing to you, whether the current about the child is very high to you, and whether the nirvana has become a thing to you, and the current about the nirvana is high, there's no difference between the two. Whatever has become a thing, whatever has got a very high power, whatever that you are trying to keep for you, whatever you are trying to reach, that is yourself. So, what is the stimulus or the goal is immaterial actually. Whatever you are trying to reach, whether it is the goal of nirvana or whether it is a goal of the achievement of your child, is not going to be different. Both have the same current, same same contribution to the samsara journey. So therefore, it's important not to be misled by these mind sensor interpretations. Always be doubtful about what you feel. Always you ask and get it clarified from the Kalyana Mitra, from the Dhamma friends, wherever you can contact. People who can understand Sinhalese language, there are many opportunities, of course. Early morning, 5 a.m., then 9:30 a.m. Sri Lankan time, and afternoon, 4 p.m., and afternoon, 7 p.m., and afternoon, 9:30 p.m. Of course, in between, there are two more. One discussion session for sutra, where Aryan Mahasi is selecting some sutra and then discussing the meaning, which is very useful, particularly for the monks and the nuns who have a much better knowledge in Pali, but finding it difficult to interpret these things. Uh, and of course, there is another one for children at 5 p.m. So, if it is appropriate to you, whatever the Zoom you can join. The 7 p.m. Zoom is mainly for the people who have been listening to these Buddothpado Dhamma sessions for about 2.5 years. So if you are a newcomer, better to join the 9:30 a.m. morning one and 9:30 p.m. night one, Sri Lankan time. So always get your doubts clarified. Try to identify where yourself is. It's better to recognize your point of contemplation or the kamatahana. That can vary from person to person. So see what stimulus or what thought is bringing up the highest level of current. That is called kamatahana. The thought or the stimulus that may be very strong enough to bring a powerful current, which makes you feel very heavy and which makes you feel really exhausted. That is what you have to understand. That is what you have to find out what is a kamatana is. And when the current starts dissolving, the kamatana is going to be very useful for you to uh, realize that the level of defilements are coming down. So the level of defilements means the burning that you had in relation to the stimulus is coming down gradually. The same incidents may be happening. The same now people sometimes talk about the alcoholic habits of the husbands, the stubbornness of the child, frictions that you are having with the daughter-in-law or maybe a neighbor or a relation, a friction that you are having with the uh, workmate. So these things, uh, you have to recognize what is your kamatana is, and that is going to help you to see, because that is supposed to be the strongest one, and then only uh, you will be able to guide yourself. You will be able to identify that the level of defilements are getting less and less. And the defilements less means the all the defilements will gradually go down. The beautiful example given by uh, our RN Vahase is the bucket of water which has a hole in the bottom. The water level will go down uh, gradually, equally, not one side going down first. So that means all the level of defilements will go down gradually. Sometimes we hear some mothers say that I have no fire, no current at all to all the other stimuli or the thoughts, but I have a current for just these two stimuli. Maybe they say that the grandchild or my two children. It doesn't happen that way actually, because you don't feel the level of defilements with the other thoughts. But what you strongly feel is something that you have been strongly experiencing. So, in other words, the kamatahana or the point of contemplation helps you as an indicator uh, to assess yourself that the level of defilements are going down. And as I said, make sure that the good self is not going to be preserved. The improving, uh, advanced self who is good in Dhamma is not going to be preserved or saved. So there is no person called self. I am reiterating this statement. There never existed a self. The self concept is coming from that current that is felt, the strength of the thought, the heaviness of the thought, or that real feeling of the thought. When the same thought occurs again and again, as I mentioned earlier, that reality, real aliveness is becoming prominent. And that is how you get so many things really existing, like feel about the world. And it's not only about anything else, but think about the self also. The concept called self uh, is there, but there is no real self in that. So these facts I don't think you hear in any other religion, uh, because we talk about the reincarnation or rebirth, and Lord Buddha said that the different realms or different levels are again creations in the mind. We talk about sometimes a person who is behaving like a devil, isn't it? Who is angry and furious, uh, burning in anger. And also, there could be physical changes, also, like heavy breathing and heart rate going up, flushed with the red eyes. Those are physical changes of the high current. And not only that, he will use the power of his arms and legs sometimes to uh, do a harm to another person. So that sort of a current, which even as a saying we say that he behaved like a devil. So really speaking, that lower realm called devil's level or the hell or whatever term you can use was there in that human body, isn't it? There are instances where a person is very calm and quiet, particularly when you had a serene walk around the Bodhi tree in the temple in a quiet evening where there's no noise and where there's no lot of people around. You had the serene, tranquil environment, and there was very fine uh, wind, which was very comfortable, no disturbances, and you were just focusing onto yourself. See the vibration, something which is like at that level, and won't it be matching with the higher realm? And sometimes you say that he was like a god at that time. Oh my God. He helped the people like a god. So, in such a situation, the vibrations of that level will be in a very fine level. And actually, that fine level of vibrations means the current is very low. And that can be synchronized or be equal to maybe even God's level or Brahma level. If in such a situation, if that physical body comes to an end, that is where that last Chutisita or that current is going to be activated, that current going to be synchronized. So if the person had a low current at that moment and suddenly the physical body comes to an end, that low current will be synchronized to a similar vibration. Doesn't necessarily mean that there should be a physical body. So can't you explain being born as God in that stage? And similarly, the person who was burning in fire, who was angry and furious, uh, we call that he he's like a devil at this moment. So if that body comes to an end at that moment, that fire, that burning rage, that current, can't it be synchronized to a similar vibration? Or maybe can't it be synchronized to an animal womb? So there are lots of complicated things like this. Complicated, but there is a very clear explanation. These explanations have been done by Avaran Mahase with all his abhinya, all his wisdoms, that he could understand these facts. Some of them actually Lord Buddha has mentioned in a very brief manner. So understanding them and then interpretation is not going to be easy unless you have a very good or very clear internal transformation yourself. So that is how we get this message from Aryan Mahansi, which is so beautiful. And day by day, with the things that he's talking to us, we feel really enchanted. It's so nice, and it becomes more and more clearer and clearer. The path becomes more and more clearer, path becomes more soothed. But maybe most of us have to go a long way, but still we have turned to the correct direction. That I can say definitely. Uh, so think about this, Chutisita. Are you prepared to die right now at this moment? That is the question that you have to ask always. Uh, if yes, be doubtful, because mind may have just given the answer just to satisfy yourself. But really speaking, check and see what is the feel. What does the feel want to do? Is it to die right now? So those are the things that you have to ask yourself and then and clarify. Uh, I will conclude the session here, uh, and we invite you all to listen to these Dhammo Buddhothpada sermons. As I mentioned, there are many for the Sinhala speaking people, and the English speaking people can always listen to this Buddothpado Pure TV channel. And there are many books printed, so in English medium also, you will be able to get some of those if you are interested. So from wherever, try to listen to more and more sermons. When you listen more and analyze it by yourself, you will be able to get a clearer thing. I mean, this only listening to these may not give the complete experience. So I worship Triple Gem with the greatest respect. I worship Aryan Mahansa at his feet, Tiruvasannai Aryan Mahansa, and we are ever so grateful, as I always say, to your guidance. May our friends who are helping with the technology be blessed by Triple Gem, and may our friends who are listening to these sermons